They are going to lie. They had already proven that to us before Donald Trump decided to start the most expensive war in American history. They're going to lie. They're going to lie about how much it cost. They're going to lie about everything about it. That's what they do. They lie the way Donald Trump has taught them to lie. They have proved they are willing to lie about anything as long as they can lie about it. They know, in many cases, the truth will come out and expose some of their lies. Kristi Noem knows now that her lies about Renee Good and Alex Preddy being domestic terrorists in Minneapolis who deserve to be murdered by Donald Trump's invasion forces eventually collapsed under the weight of the truth, the video recorded truth. And when their lies collapse, they will pretend they never lied. And in Donald Trump's deeply perverse case, as we have known from the start about him, he will simply never stop lying. A reporter trying to catch Donald Trump in a lie to his face will simply be handed another lie by Donald Trump, as we saw him do today about the war he decided to start, which in its first 12 days has cost more than $11.3 billion. A reporter trying to catch Donald Trump in a contradiction to his face will simply get a Trump riddle in reply, like this. Today, a White House reporter said to Donald Trump, "You just said it is a little excursion, and you said it is a war. So which one is it?" To which Donald Trump said, "Well, it's both. It's both." Ask a clown a question and you will get a clown's answer. Stupid is an accurate but woefully inadequate word to describe the Trump team's approach to Donald Trump's war. New reporting by the New York Times indicates there is even more proof that from the start, they have had no idea what they're doing and no ability to anticipate the most obvious results of launching such a war, including blocking 20% of the world's oil supply from moving through the Strait of Hormuz, thereby sending the world's oil price skyrocketing along with the price of gasoline in the United States. The New York Times reports Donald Trump and his sycophantic incompetence couldn't see that one coming. The Times reports on February 18th, as President Trump weighed whether to launch military attacks on Iran, Chris Wright, the energy secretary, told an interviewer he was not concerned that the looming war might disrupt oil supplies in the Middle East and wreak havoc in energy markets. Some of Mr. Trump's other advisors shared similar views in private, dismissing warnings that the second time around, Iran might wage economic warfare by closing shipping lanes carrying roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. The episode is emblematic of how much Mr. Trump and his advisors misjudged how Iran would respond to a conflict that the government in Tehran sees as an existential threat. After Donald Trump said that Iran would have to choose a leader acceptable to him, Iran chose a new leader who is the son of the previous leader and possibly even more hardline than his Ayatollah father. Donald Trump lied about that today, saying, quote, "They have a new leader every 3 weeks, every 3 days." That's one of those lies where Donald Trump becomes instantly dissatisfied with the lie that he has told and then exaggerates it into a worse lie. He hears himself say 3 weeks and decides to change it to 3 days. The last Iranian leader lasted 37 years. His son, who's now 56 years old, is on his way to a 30-year run if he dies at age 86 like his father did. But Iran's first Ayatollah died at age 89. So the number 3 is relevant here, but it's not 3 weeks or 3 years. We have now had exactly and only 3 Ayatollahs running Iran over 47 years. A new report by Reuters tonight says Donald Trump's own intelligence agencies has assessed there has been no real effective change in the leadership of Iran. The most famous object ever to take its place on the Oval Office desk was made in a federal prison in Oklahoma for the President of the United States, Harry Truman. A U.S. Marshal had it made and delivered to the President. It was a walnut base, 13 inches wide, with a painted glass sign that said, "The buck stops here." Harry Truman lived those words in the presidency and never tried to evade responsibility for his decisions or the decisions of his subordinates. In an address to the National War College in 1952, President Truman said, "When the decision is up before you, and on my desk I have a motto which says the buck stops here, the decision has to be made. That decision may be right, it may be wrong. If it is wrong, and it has been shown that it is wrong, I have no desire to cover it up. I admit it and try to make another decision that will meet the situation." And that is what any president of the United States has to do. Donald Trump doesn't see it that way. And he proved that again today in the most vile possible way with another ugly Trump lie. In his final address to the nation from the Oval Office, Harry Truman said, "The president, whoever he is, has to decide. He can't pass the buck to anybody. No one else can do the deciding for him. That's his job." And in that final address to the nation, President Truman said this:
"There is no job like it on the face of the earth. In the power which is concentrated here at this desk, and in the responsibility and difficulty of the decisions. I want all of you to realize how big a job, how hard a job it is, not for my sake, because I'm stepping out of it, but for the sake of my successor. He needs the understanding help of every citizen."
Harry Truman would be sickened by what his successor did today when Donald Trump lied about what we now know was an American Tomahawk missile targeted at a girls' school in Iran. A U.S. official familiar with the matter told MS Now that a preliminary investigation by the Pentagon has found that U.S. forces bombed a school in Iran due to dated targeting information that identified the building as part of an adjacent military complex. So that's the government's own preliminary investigation, confirming what the New York Times has been reporting for days, which the Trump team was claiming was some kind of harassment of the White House. That is what Donald Trump's press secretary called New York Times accurate reporting about the American missile attack on that girls' school. Harassment, that was her word for it. Today, the New York Times reports a visual investigation by the Times showed the building housing the school had been fenced off from the military base between 2013 and 2016. 3 public entrances were open to the school. Ground was cleared, and play areas, including a sports field, were painted on asphalt, and walls were painted blue and pink. So the outdated targeting information that Donald Trump's team of incompetence was using that attacked that school was at least 10 years old. And now 175 people, most of them children, are dead. First, Donald Trump lied, as he always does. He first attempted to blame Iran, saying Iran could somehow obtain and operate an American Tomahawk missile, which is, of course, a complete screaming lie that Donald Trump only tried once. And the next day, Donald Trump said there's an investigation going on, so he wasn't going to talk about it. And then today he reached a new low in Trump lying when he tried to claim he didn't know about the attack. He didn't know about the dead children. He actually said the words, "I don't know about it." And so during Donald Trump's lifetime, we have watched the presidency go from "the buck stops here" to "I don't know about it." Please keep Harry Truman in mind and imagine him watching Donald Trump respond today to the question, as Commander-in-Chief, do you take responsibility for that?
A new report says that the military investigation has found that the United States struck the school in Iran. As Commander-in-Chief, you take responsibility for that.
That is what?
As Commander-in-Chief, do you...
For what?
For the strike on the school in Iran. A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
I don't know about it. And then he wandered off in search of another question. And of course, the next White House reporter changed the subject for him, as he knew that would happen. And he is lying. Of course he's lying. This time he's lying about the deaths of girls in Iran, brave enough to try to get an education, the girls who could be the future for the kind of Iranian society we would all like to see. Some of those girls might have helped lead Iran into that future. And Donald Trump, once again, disgraces the American presidency, this time by saying, I don't know about it, when he is asked about the death of those girls killed by an American Tomahawk missile. Donald Trump doesn't know about a lot of things. Donald Trump doesn't know most things that he needs to know and should know, but Donald Trump knows. Those girls were killed by one of his Tomahawk missiles. And he knows those girls would be alive today if he did not decide to start his war in Iran. The war that he called today a little excursion. In a little excursion, girls don't get killed in their classrooms. In a little excursion, soldiers don't face amputation. In a little excursion, soldiers don't have brain damage. In a little excursion, soldiers are not killed.